One of the most significant geopolitical changes that we have seen in Northeast Asia and on the Korean Peninsula as a result of Russia's war in Ukraine has been the burgeoning relationship between DPRK and Russia in support of Putin's war of aggression in Ukraine. North Korea has provided an array of military products and hardwares and military personnel to Russia to support their war in Ukraine. If we look, for example, at some of the key elements of this, somewhere between 6 to 12 million rounds of ammunition have been provided by North Korea to Russia that some reports that say account for at least 50% of the weapons or munitions that Russia is firing on Ukraine is sourced to North Korea. In addition to that, hundreds of short-range ballistic missiles, KN-23 and KN-24 ballistic missile remnants have been found in Ukraine, having been fired by the Russians onto Ukrainian territory. Multiple rocket launch systems, as well as other sorts of hardwares, have also been provided by North Korea to Russia. In addition to that, military personnel, somewhere between 13,000 and 15,000 troops have been provided by North Korea to Russia that have been fighting on the front lines in areas like Kursk, where there has been a pitched battle between Russia and Ukraine over that territory. In addition, it's reported that 15,000 laborers have been part of the effort to support the Russians during the war, and there are reports that more troops may go from North Korea to Russia on the order of 25 to 30,000 more. Significant contingent potentially moving from North Korea to Russia. How does all of this ammunition and all of these troops move? Here we have a map. At the far end here, we can see where the transfer point takes place between North Korea and Russia, usually by ship from Najin port. And then once they get into Russia, they move across by land, all across the continent of Russia to the war front here in Ukraine. This is a close-up of the Najin port and the movement of the ship. Again, tucked very deep into Russian and North Korean territories. Again, movement across the continent. All of these things make it very hard for the United States or others to try to intercept through PSI-type activities. But here we count a total of almost 50 ships that have been bringing material from North Korea to Russia, and Russian ships, 43, that have been bringing or returning material or a compensation to North Korea for what has been provided. The other area that we're tracking is the railway crossing. There are 2 railway crossings between Russia and North Korea. This is by far the most active one, the Tumangang-Kasan railway crossing. And what is of note here is new activity, new infrastructure that is being built, new roads that are being built here, as well as modernized rail station that is being built here and here. All of this reflecting the increased amount of activity and commerce that is taking place between Russia and North Korea because of the war in Ukraine. All of this ammunition moves into ammunition depots on the Russian side. This is one ammunition depot that we monitor, the Mozdok Munitions Storage Facility in Russia. This is another one that we monitor, the Tikhoretsk Munitions Factory, Munitions Storage Facility in Tikhoretsk. This is the one, as you've seen in recent reports, that has been bombed by the Ukrainians, but these pictures were actually taken long before the bombing of this munitions factory. But here, what we want to draw your attention to is this is what the munitions storage depot looks like in August of 2023. And this is what it looked like only a few months later. And what I draw your attention to here is the building of numerous revetments, which are where much of this ammunition is stored, all again the result of burgeoning supplies of North Korean ammunition. What does this mean in the end for North Korea? It means they get a lot of cash out of this, almost for certain. Our estimates are that if they are providing between 9 and 10 million rounds of ammunition, as well as thousands of troops, North Korea is probably making somewhere in the range of $9.5 to $12 billion in hard currency as a result of that, which for the North Korean economy is a great deal of money. So in the end, what does this all mean? There are 5 general consequences or implications that we can think about as a result of this new and very strong military relationship with DPRK and Russia. The first is that North Korea is much less likely to want to engage in symmetry with Donald Trump or with the new president in South Korea, Lee Jae-myung, largely because it's getting almost everything it needs now and more from Russia, whether we're talking about money, whether we're talking about food, energy, and also the lifting of sanctions, because Russia is no longer complying with UN sanctions that have been levied against North Korea. Second, if there is the opportunity for engagement between the United States and North Korea, the priorities for the United States could potentially shift from denuclearization, which has been a long-sought yet really difficult to achieve goal, to much more immediate and pressing concerns like trying to stem the volume of activity that's taking place between DPRK and Russia, or to try to prevent or preempt DPRK Iran cooperation to help reconstitute Iran's nuclear program after the US bombing of the Iran nuclear sites. So this may become a priority for the United States in a negotiation over denuclearization. Third point is that what the war in Ukraine and Russia and North Korean activity tells us is that we should not expect that North Korea will sort of sit idly by if they are just being contained and they're not engaging in diplomacy with the United States. In fact, during this protracted period that we have not seen any engagement between DPRK and Russia over the last 4 to 5 years, North Korea has been very active, as we have talked about, and in a very predatory way with regard to supporting a war in the middle of Europe, where North Koreans today are not just arming Russians to kill Europeans, but are actually killing Europeans themselves. Fourth major point is that this relationship with DPRK and Russia has been at the expense of China's ability to control North Korea. Traditionally, China has had the most influence on the Korean Peninsula. This looks to have been greatly eroded by this relationship with DPRK and Russia. And finally, one of the dangers of China exercising less influence over North Korea is that if Russia exercises influence, they essentially allow North Korean behavior to be unregulated, to take place without any sort of constraints. China, despite all of its flaws in dealing with North Korea, always tried to at least manage the situation and try to prevent North Korea from doing really destabilizing things like a 7th nuclear test or carrying out provocations against South Korea. As far as we can tell, this relationship between Putin and Kim that is sealed now in a mutual defense treaty basically has made Russia a security guarantor for North Korea, no matter what it does, unregulated behavior. So this is very concerning. We here at CSIS are tracking this all very closely. You can read more of the work that we're doing on this on our Beyond Parallel website, where we have both analysis and a timeline of North Korean-Russian cooperation. You can see here we've documented all the activities that have taken place between these two countries, and as you can see, the volume only increases over time. So please come to our website, Beyond Parallel, where you can learn more about this very dangerous and destabilizing relationship.